on time. Go Team 10. Let's get this adjusted. I know I probably should have did that before I got started, but welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am going to get the word out on Twitter like I do every week, and then we are going to get this fired up because it has been a busy week, and I think you can tell by the picture that I'm starting off with what the main topic of tonight is going to be about. But we're going to talk about a lot of things tonight because it has been a week of fuckery, and I know I took Tuesday night off mainly because A, I was not feeling well after dealing with yet another power outage, and B, I just needed to take a break from the constant bullshit. It's just the best way to put it is this week has been really full of bullcrap, and I, like many other black women, have just, thank you for the subscription, honey. We just pretty much tried to protect our peace in the best way possible. And instead of, dealing with yelling about this on Tuesday, I just intook a lot of the stuff, a lot of the news stories, a lot of the hearings, and I just wanted to rest my mind and be fresh for today because there was a lot of people weighing in on hopefully soon to be Supreme Court Justice Jackson Brown's confirmation with such ridiculous leans. Like, the confirmation was hard enough to get through because you see a woman who was so well prepared, highly qualified, so freaking smart going through this. And welcome to the chat, Beans. Welcome to the chat, Solomon Isle. Hugs to you both. You see somebody who really busted their ass all their lives to get where she is right now, and to have somebody like that mutated ferret Ted Cruz talk down, diminish her, have the CRT young lady, which I'm going to get to tonight, spouting her nonsense. That one daughter of the Confederacy looking old white lady spouting her nonsense. I'm going to pick apart a lot of the stuff they did, a lot of their antics, because CRT, that argument needs to die. It needs to. Because if you go by the conservatives' rhetoric, just me doing these Bonnet Chronicles of CRT. Welcome to the chat, G. Feldman. It is just exactly. She is amazing. She's an inspirational. And that is what I want people to take from this. It is so easy to just focus on the clownery of this week. But I don't want to diminish the accomplishments, the love she has. Not just this picture here where her husband is clearly showing how much he supports and loves his wife. There's another really amazing picture of her daughter just looking on with just pride in her eyes. And you could tell what a family truly loves and supports each other. And it's nice to see that. And it's not the first time. We see it all the time with the Bidens. We see it with VP Harris and Doug and his kids. When you have genuine love and affection, it doesn't matter if your family's blended. It doesn't matter if you're what the conservatives consider traditional. You can't fake that amount of love and devotion to each other. And I think that scares people who are used to the cold fakeness of their realities. But we're not going to keep making room for people like that. We want stuff like this. We want the love. We want the support. We want people that know their stuff and that care. We want somebody who not only is at the pinnacle of our class, but was actually a public defender, which means it didn't matter what your income was. She was going to defend you. Welcome to the chat, Terry Antico. It's just like, I am so sick of Holly. I don't understand what North Carolina is doing, but y'all need to get your shit together and get that doofus out of there. He needs to be in the jail cell anyway. He had the nerve to question Miss Jackson Brown on whether or not she was lenient on sex offenders when you literally, as a prosecutor, let one walk. Receipts are real, and it's not that hard to dig up your track record. The fact that you even passed the bar is still flooring me, but you don't want to go there, Holly. There's just so many people that could never hold a candle to our qualifications. And for Black women, this week just reminded us constantly of the toxic micro and macroaggressions, but I wanted to be a bit more realer. For those of us who are in relationships like Miss Jackson, who understand that we've had to quantify to ourselves a lot of times while we're with our partners. And if you're real, if you're 100% real, especially for us Black women, we ask ourselves, how much of that was loving our partners? How much of that was trying to prove to the world we're desirable? How much of this was a positive thing so that we could confront some of the more negative digs people are going to make at our relationships? And I don't think there's a Black woman alive in these kind of relationships that haven't had to go through it. Some people are toxic with their responses. Looking at No Edges Candace, I'm sure she has nasty stuff to say. I'm also sure that she is one of the reasons why people associate us not wanting to be Black with our relationships. And I'm telling you right now, I am pro-Black, especially pro-Black woman. But I happen to date a partner who identifies as a white man, who is a white man. He treats me good. We are together. We are happy. We are a team. We are raising kiddo together. And I know that might upset people that think, oh, if you're pro-Black, how come you're not dating a Black man? It just didn't happen. There were plenty of mitigating factors, but when I was at my geekiest, my nerdiest, when I was at a point in my life when I was ready to date, I found a super geeky, nerdy guy that spoke to me. Even before we knew what each other looked like, we were able to talk to each other, be real with each other, support each other. And I think a lot of people put a lot of basis in just the physical stuff and supposedly having common ground cultural-wise. But as a Black girl nerd, especially growing up in the 80s and 90s, there weren't a lot of Black boy nerds that were around me, especially in New York. A lot of my friends didn't realize how heavily I was in the anime and manga and comic books until well after I moved out of the city, because it just didn't feel like the time to embrace that side of myself openly. And you got to realize that I grew up in a time where they literally had movies glorifying bullying the stuff that I was into, bullying people that were into the things I was into. So yeah, it was not open season for being a blerd like you can be now. The stuff that kids get away with being openly who they are, with liking geeky things, couldn't do that 20, 30 years ago. So I had to explain to people why it was that 17 years ago in a mud game, I met a nerdy guy who gave me a rose. And we just hit it off. And since then, we have been not only best of friends, but partners. And I think when people ding you for who your partner is based on the fact that, oh, you're a Black man and you're dating this, or you're a Black woman and you're dating this, I'm a human being and I'm Black and I'm not ashamed of being Black. But who I fell in love with, that is my business. It doesn't make me less than. And unless that person is toxic, and I have done the toxic thing, so I can understand if that's the point being made. But when I have a loving and supportive partner, I am not going to let anybody rip that from me, especially after the hell I've been through with men. I refuse. And when I see people in love and supporting each other, like the Jacksons, like VP Harris, like the Bidens, it just floors me how many people have to be negative because they don't understand what that's like. They don't understand what it's like to have a team. And it's very evident. And when Black women are treated like treasures, you would think that more people would be like, well, this is genuine, this is real. But it just brings out the nasty, the skeptical. You know, somebody made it really poignant, and I added my own thought to it. I'm going to find the tweet because it's not that far down, so you won't have too much of a cow trying to navigate Twitter moment. You know, I just thought it was really poignant what she said about you know, you weren't checking for them awkward, brilliant black girls. And you weren't asking for them to sit with you at the pool table. But you got the audacity to question who they marry. And then she added the ashy because it was. It was a lot of Ados types. It was a lot of them Hotep men who, they always ding us for our partners. But you don't want us. You want to remind us of our place. You want to remind us that we're not desirable unless you're sliding into our DMs. But nobody else is allowed to have us either? No, that's not how that works. And I added to that. I was like, so many of us felt that tweet to our core. The blurred girls, the awkward noir girls, you know, the dark goth girls, because not just the pale ones were into that. Those of us who love being in our books and in our own heads, studying, bettering ourselves, we got punked, we got clowned, we got told, no man's going to ever want you. Nobody wants a smart girl. Nobody wants a girl that knows what she's doing. And we didn't play those games. And we stuck true to ourselves. And yes, we found somebody that wanted to be with us. And it ain't our fault that they didn't sleep on who we are. I just feel that to the core of my soul, that there are way too many people that think black women are either fetish, that we are somehow less desirable in the spectrum of women, and we need to shatter those things because it's not true. And it doesn't matter our skin tone or our shade. Most men that I find fell for me, a lot of times didn't even know who I look like or just talk to me and realize she's cool to hang out with, A, but also there's a partnership there. And I think a lot of people base relationships off of superficial things and wonder why it falls apart. But when you date somebody who's genuine, who really just, they know themselves, they know what they want in life, and that's what they're going for, and you partner up with that and you're both on that same page, that's what makes these relationships work. And when men pick black women and are on that level and there's that teamwork, you see it. And it doesn't matter if both the couple are both black. But you see that with those power couples especially too. I just think that people need to realize that we're here. We deserve our place in society. We are no longer going to be relegated to the back or the help. And that our partners are not trophies for us to brag about. There are people that love us. And that is tiring to even have to defend it, but I understand why I felt so defensive of it for the longest time. I think anybody in these kind of relationships, especially after the last few years, you question a lot of stuff. You've watched friends and people that you thought of as family literally cater to like conservative rhetoric, which we're going to talk about tonight, because it's insidious. Right now, we have a trial going on here in Michigan. Our governor was the victim of a kidnap plot. 14 wannabe Michigan militia yahoos decided they were going to kidnap and do horrible things to her. And as I got more of the trial notes, their idea was, we'll start a civil war. Because apparently education is definitely not key in this state. They forgot how that worked for their side. They forgot they lost. They also don't understand that, unlike back in the day, my people are not going to let y'all get away with that shit. So, yeah, you might have started Civil War 2.0. You probably would have lost faster than your other relatives. And you lost a whole generation of idiots who were pro-slavery and died for that cause. Don't be the idiot who died because you didn't want to wear a fucking mask to protect yourself. Even the trucker convoy is petering out. Between the infighting, the fact that they did not get enough people wanting to waste their time and gas to travel around in big rigs with the rest of those idiots, people getting arrested because, like I said, if you showed up in that January 6th bullshit, you're going to get arrested. And unlike the do something Twitter that like to act like nothing's being done, I made it clear. Arrests have been happening. Convictions have been happening. There was literally a trial with a young man, and I don't follow him because A, he's younger than me, B, it just feels weird. but I kept following some of the stuff he tweeted because he turned his father in. And I don't know how dangerous I don't know if you understand the danger of having somebody that ingrained into this QAnon bullshit, gunslinging Texas type dad to turn against your own father, knowing that he is crazy enough to go guns a-blazing for Trump. That takes courage. And this young man not only testified against his father, but knew that was pretty much going to ostracize him from his family. He's been raw and open about the ordeal of that. So it really chafes me when Joe or Jane Rando on Twitter act like, where's Merrick? Nothing's happening. This January 6th thing ain't happened fast enough. What are you paying attention to? And why do you think this is going to be like the WWE? But if you need a spectator sport, there are plenty of people reporting on the convictions. The fact that anything from 6 years to almost 20 years is being held down depending on the level and severity. The fact that a lot of the Bugaloo leaders and the Proud Boy leaders are now fucking locked up. But oh, do something Twitter. Nothing's happening. And it's like, are you kidding me right now? It's got to stop. And it's insidious. And it doesn't help when you got assholes like Joy Reid. And I'm sorry, I used to support Joy. I used to support Tiffany. So many of the Cabo crew used to be people I cheered for because I thought they were going to take the time to use their platforms and ability as black women to elevate truth. And like everything else, you get burnt. Sometimes it really be your own. And for Joy to still tweet out things like, where's Merrick? Like, he's doing his job, Joy. Unlike you, whose job is to be in front of a camera acting out of pocket and interviewing people, Merrick Garland is the national AG. It is his job to prosecute things, to make sure the rule of the law is being followed. And it's funny how so many people are invested in what Merrick Garland's doing all of a sudden, when the only time any of us even cared about who his AG was when that idiot was running his wannabe fascist attempt at being president, and Howdy Doody Sessions recused himself, and then we were pretty sure that William Barr was going to lead us into the fucking Handmaid's Tales. But before that, none of us, even me, who is very politically invested, can even remember the national AG. So y'all can stop weighing in on what Merrick needs to do. Merrick is doing what every other government official is doing in Washington, his job. And it is not a Law and Order episode. So no, you're not going to get constant updates and streams. He's not going to be tweeting his daily stuff because that's not what he's ever done. And I legit do not understand people who want that spectator sport. But I'm telling you, between them, the people that are constantly in the negative, the people giving AOC fucking interviews, like what even is that? I need people to quantify to me how it is okay for a serious news publication or any news publication to have Alexandria Cortazio, I'm going to butcher her name, so I'm going to just call her AOC, on camera talking about what the president needs to do for student loans when you are a representative. You are literally a legislator. You could draft legislation. Laura Underwood's a legislator. She's drafted plenty of legislation. It is your job, AOC, to do that. It is not Joe Biden's job to do your job. It is his job to, after you do your job, oversee it. But you got enough people that are so anti-learning civics that they'll listen to that interview and go, yeah, it is the president's fault. I'm just not going to vote in the midterms. It's a waste of time. And you're a part of the problem. You see stuff like this confirmation hearing, we wouldn't even be able to have something like that if we don't get out and vote. And we are never going to have any more historic appointments if we don't do our part. And I'm not going to stop reminding people of that. Democracy isn't just, I elect the president and sit back. You can't be like Molly John Fast, who sits on her couch and can't be motivated off for the midterms. You can't stand any of the Trumps who are still doing their grifting bullshit. There's no such thing as a good Trump. Not even Mary. Y'all need to stop being played because that is what they do. They emotionally manipulate all of us into thinking, oh, they said something that I like about Trump being an asshole, so they must obviously be a good guy. And then in the same breath, they're like, the Dems aren't fighting hard enough. This is not a wrestling match. This is not a spectator sport. I get that a lot of us want to come hard and aggressive, but why? I need people who are cool-headed and collected because we still got a global pandemic going on. We've got allies fighting for their country not to be overtaken by a madman dictator who can't take no for an answer. We have a whole shit ton of domestic mess to clear up. And I'm sorry if that bothers you, Mr. I need to tweet about how this administration isn't doing stuff for me fast enough. But some of us are practical and realize that we can't afford to go backwards. We have seen what the GOP will give us if we sleep on this. So when you retweet, oh, the Dems aren't fighting hard enough, how do you know what the Dems are doing? Do you realize all the legislation that this administration has passed in a fucking year? Somebody memed it, and I was going to show it, but the writing is so tiny because Biden and Harris have passed so much stuff that they couldn't even squeeze it in one thing. It is a lot of stuff. Beyond infrastructure, beyond the pandemic, they have been working their ass off to not only roll back all the stupid things that Trump and his cronies did to deplete our global standing and domestic standing, but they are working their ass off so that we don't fall apart. And instead of appreciation, instead of people realizing that all I have to do is cast a ballot, all I have to do is remember every senator that brought up CRT, every senator that wasted our time with this confirmation hearing to try to act like an idiot racist. Make sure they don't have a job. A lot of those assholes are coming up for re-election. A lot of those assholes don't deserve Senate seats. And could you imagine how much more things we could get passed and done if they were replaced? We have to stop playing games with this. And I know it's real easy to listen to a person that goes, I don't know about the midterms. I don't know about anything. You got to stop. Because that shit's insidious too. And it leads to the heart of this whole idea of small town, because we're seeing a lot of those articles pop up like all over the place talking about is Biden leaving the small town people behind. No, because black people live in small towns too. No, because every single bill he's passed has helped us all, whether it's to get us vaccinated, whether it's a child tax care credit. Biden has made it his promise not to let any American feel left behind. And I know it's hard for some of you that like to only be the center of attention to understand that. But when he said all of us, he meant all of us. And it's just frustrating to me that the media, instead of realizing that, and realizing that this is a good thing and this is what our country needs after 4 years of fuckery, that they would rather play the games of, well, maybe the rural people are being left behind, because they know that stokes them. Between that, Fox News, that assholes like Joe Rogan, you've got a whole indoctrination of the Al-Qaeda, as I like to call them. That's why 14 of those bozos decided they wanted to kidnap and potentially kill a governor here in Michigan so that they could start the Civil War 2.0. Don't think that shit's limited to the South. It is pocket cells of telling people that your small town mentality is going to be attacked by this. Don't be too politically aware. Only vote for people that look like you, because we've got your best interest. We'll tell you to keep your guns, even though we won't put money into your towns. We'll make you depressed. We'll make sure that you're high enough on pain pills, but then we'll deny you because you're too high on them, and then we'll wait until you just explode like the toxic cocktail that we have forged with both faith and fuckery. It is a combo that we have ignored far too long, and it keeps exploding. And we know it don't work, but we keep watching them still try to push us towards a weird neo-Christian theocracy that doesn't even follow their own doctrine. They're not about the life of Christ. They don't care about the poor. They don't care about helping their fellow man. The only thing the conservatives have ever been about is themselves. And I think the thing that troubles me the most is just how easily they have seeped into the hearts of so many, especially white people. It just boggles my mind. I've had so many friends say things like, oh, I'm not politically aware, active, and I'm like, why? And I know it feels like I'm accusing them when I say it, but for me, I never got that luxury. I was a child when my grandmother started taking me to the polling place. I will never forget her saying, vote because they don't want us to. And I've seen that shit over and over. I've seen that Chip Franklin tweet earlier today, too, and I responded to it because it was so asinine. Would you stand in line for 8 hours to vote against the senators that, kept harassing Ketanji Jackson Brown and Brown Jackson? And I was like, some of us have had to stand in line for hours just to undo the damage that y'all have done. I voted in Florida. I remember those nightmare lines just to fucking cast a vote, to have my vote come up a hanging Chad. I'm still going to vote. I don't understand the whole idea that it would be beyond you to do your basic civic duty. I don't understand the luxury of feeling like, that would be a lot of work for me. Black people do it all the time because we realize early on what we could lose if we don't do it. And even that's not 100% because, like I said, dudes, whether you like it or not, you just need to get those numbers up. Because black women know we understand the assignment at least in the 90 percentile range. And until the rest of y'all get those numbers close to that or up above us, you can't touch us on this. So many of us understand that when we vote, we get that representation. When we vote, other people get that representation. And it's been like that from the fucking beginning. Fannie Mae Hammer. I know a lot of people don't know her name and they should. She was a loud black woman. I sometimes feel like I channel her spirit. She opened up doors that were closed in her face because she wasn't going to take that. And a lot of us have that energy. A lot of us have that time because we have to. And I think a lot of people take for granted because they're told, oh, you don't got to worry about that. Don't think about that. Vote is a luxury for you, and it's not. And it shouldn't take a state repealing your rights. It shouldn't take a state targeting your right to exist, especially if you're LGBTQ. If you are LGBTQ and you are not voting like your life depends on it in this country, what the fuck are you even doing at this point? How many times do the conservatives cruelly have to target your humanity for you to realize that this isn't a game? I am not saying this for shock value. I'm not saying this for fear. I have watched the Conservative Party shit on this community far too much. I watched it when I was a child during the AIDS crisis. I watched it in the 90s as they tried to figure out a way to make it separate but equal. Oh, you can't have the right to marry because that's traditionally religious, even though marriage is just a business contract. They fought you tooth and nail for stuff that you now have because we didn't give up. We didn't just say, no, you conservatives are right. We should just, live our best lives and not fight for our civil rights. No, you keep pushing. And now you see these fuckers literally coming after trans kids. You see them coming after your rights to adopt. You see them coming after your rights to just be open, especially in states like Florida. Why isn't this motivating people to get together, especially during the midterms, and make sure that these fucking governors who are bigots, these senators who support shit like this, and any representatives are out of jobs? This is not a joke anymore. We have seen that cruelty is the main feature of the Conservative Party. I do not understand anybody who is openly LGBT, especially, that is 18 and older, that isn't politically active. You cannot afford to go back to those dark days. I'm telling you, it was horrible. Even in the 80s, being even remotely linked to being gay could get you lynched, could get you beat up, if not killed. People are still the victim of violent crime. Trans women still being murdered left and right. And you really want to just have an apathetic look at who represents you so that they can literally pass laws banning your existence again? Because that's what happens when you fall asleep on this stuff. And I am being real. This is why I am being real about this. Because we black women already know what happens when we let conservatives run our shit. We watch as they kill our kids. We watch as they shoot our daughters. We watch as they arrest us for being on our own property. We know the dignities and indignities of surviving in America. We don't want to see anybody else going through that willingly. So we vote for you, and we need you to vote for yourselves. And white people, I shouldn't have to talk to you like your kids at all about this. But if anything, you shouldn't have to wait until this is at your doorstep. White women, you shouldn't have had to wait until they were attacking Roe versus Wade. Because that is seriously not even the only issue that you should have to worry about within your legal rights. You think targeting your ability to choose your own reproduction is going to be the only thing they stop? Come on now. Some of these conservatives don't even see women as human beings, just meat incubators. And it's tiring just allowing them to control the narrative of who we are and how we should be. And we have the power to stop them from doing that. And instead of utilizing that power, we let apathy get to us. Things aren't fast enough for me. I'm not getting this forgiven. I'm not getting that forgiven. Why should I do anything? And it's like, because real work takes time. And you get what you get. You put in no effort in politics and expect to get something out of it. Not only are you really stupid and entitled, but you don't deserve anything but bad. And you can't get mad that for the turnout that black women put in, we are seeing the representation that we finally deserve in VP Harris and soon to be SCOTUS Jackson Brown. You can stay salty all you want, but when you put the effort into anything, when you put the work into anything, you see the results of that. And too many of you want to skirt by, do bare minimum if anything, and then cry and bitch when stuff ain't done fast enough. And I'm sorry, but this administration has only been in here a year and had literal 4 years of fuckery to clean up, here and abroad. And unlike other nations who are still handling COVID and their stuff, we had some real bullshit issues to handle here. We had a literal doofus trying to corrupt our elective process. Had a whole bunch of his yahoos storm our Capitol. We have a country that tries to act like it's not, but truly is divided. We have little pocket cells of, like I call them, Al-Qaeda, still being indoctrinated by Fox News propaganda channel and all other sorts of right-wing bullshit, trying to tell them that, by God, they need to think this way. Keep their neighborhood and their ideology safe, even though that ideology is slowly poisoning their towns and killing them. And then you have a media that's feeding into that bullshit, talking about, oh, this administration ain't helping the small towns. Bullshit. Biden is from the small town. He's from fucking Scranton. He ain't one of them, I got a silver spoon in my mouth type guys. You're not going to pull that nonsense with Biden. He understood that he wasn't coming into an easy job at all. And he's just going to be him. I think that's the thing that really has endeared Joe to me. You know, he wasn't my first pick, and I'm always 100% about that. But he did pick my first pick as his VP. And he is going to be who he is. He is a genuinely caring human being. He knows what he's doing. He's been a senator. He's been the vice president. And he actually wants to bring us all out of that 4-year funk-induced fuckery. And I refuse to let the toxic negative articles, mostly opinion and hit pieces, get to me. I refuse to let anything rattle my civic duties. And if you are in some way, shape, or form watching this, and ain't in chat, because I know the people in my chat vote. But if you somehow watch this later on YouTube and you go, why should I vote? Why shouldn't you? What luxury, what pinnacle of society are you at where a doofus like Trump didn't affect you? Because I refuse to believe that you weren't affected by that man downplaying a pandemic. That you didn't feel the crunch of losing people around you to this disease. You can't tell me that his foreign policies didn't do a lot of people dirty. That man was a menace. And Biden and Harris are a breath of fresh air that I refuse to give up. Having a 50-50 Senate is good, but we can do better. Having a representative under Pelosi is good, but we can definitely give her better. We have to do our part in this. And it can't be just when there's a crisis. That is the thing that drives me the most nuts about this nation. Y'all get comfortable and complacent, and then you let the bullshit artists that only want to things ain't good enough in your ear. And then you carry that with you, and then you're like, well, I don't have to worry about this midterm. I'll just skip it. And then you skip it, a doofus conservative gets into power, your state goes to shit, and you go, I don't understand how this happened. I didn't vote, but I don't understand how this happened. And it's right there. You let these assholes skirt by in some of these things, and they pass legislation that literally target your ability to vote, your ability to exist, your rights as a woman. You have to stop letting the apathy and the negative erode the hope that we should have from this administration. It is just so frustrating, especially exactly means when you see that people like Laura Underwood, people like Chantel Brown, people like, what's her homegirl from the Dakotas? Oh my gosh, I see her face. I'm blanking at her name. She's one of the few Native American representatives we have. There are so many hard-working people in our House of Senate that go unsung, busting their asses, and they need colleagues. Sharice, thank you. Sharice Davis, who need colleagues that will do the work with them. David, thank you. I am really having a senior moment tonight. We have so many governorships up for grabs. We have Val Demings in Florida running against Rubio, who does not need to be in the seat anymore. He is a fucking waste of space. We have Abbott, who needs to go because Texas has been deserved better, and Beto is way better. And Stacey Abrams got Kemp shook, y'all. I don't think people understand that her Star Trek thing just ingratiated her with a lot of nerds. And nerds tend to vote. Kemp needs to be shook. We aren't playing anymore because we understand what is at stake when we sleep. But we can't do it alone. You can't put this all on the shoulders of black women. We are tired. After this week, a lot of us expressed tired. It was so nice jumping in dreads. And I know that there are a lot of white people that felt hurt because black people, we were kind of surly with you this week. We just wanted our own spaces on Twitter to talk about how this was making us feel. And like clockwork, we still got the not-allers. We still got the people that were like, well, white women go through this too. And it's like, this ain't about y'all. We are literally watching on a national level one of the most qualified people to ever be nominated to the SCOTUS be picked apart by a man who can't even grow a beard right. A literal insurrectionist in Josh Hawley. And it was just painful. And it reminded me of so many things I went through when I was in corporate bookkeeping. Because even though at first I just crunched numbers, I moved into management where you had to go to meetings and express yourself and talk about budget things and really come out of your shell and deal with the daily goings on. And it really felt like I was just there to say, hey, look, we've got a black person in management. And I don't know how others would feel in that position, but I didn't feel right. I didn't feel like I belonged, and they didn't help me feel like I belonged in that position. I felt like if it could have been anybody black, they would have put them there. And I felt like I had to take a lot of bullshit when I earned that right to be there. And it wasn't that I didn't feel like I belonged because of qualifications, because I knew my stuff. My office ran straight. The budget stayed straight, and we didn't have any money problems. In fact, I found hundreds of thousands of dollars before I left. So it wasn't my qualifications, but you could only take so many racist jokes that was just stupid, and you had to internalize scream while you gave a polite laugh to the good old boys. Or, oh, you are affirmative action hire. Like literally saying stuff to that. I tell people all the time, one of the first things my fucking boss, the CEO of the company, said to me when I was hired in was, "You didn't sound black over the phone." As if that was a compliment. Stuff like that, when I was younger, I tried to act like it didn't bother me, because you had to. You weren't going to mess up a paycheck like that. It was a really good paycheck. But it gets to you. And seeing Miss Brown Jackson go through that again on a national stage, I can't even say opened up old wounds, because they never got to heal in the first place. They just festered over the years, and I just learned to ignore them. But we can't keep ignoring the pain of racist microaggressions. It causes trauma. It causes sickness, physical and mental. And it's not good for our souls. And it was good to be able to open up like so many other Black and even POC women who have gone through this. Because I don't want y'all to feel left out of the conversation, but I just feel like whenever we try to talk about our pain, other people try to move in, because I know you're going through your pain, but you think it's an open party for all of us. And sometimes as a Black woman, I'm like, okay, I can understand that. And I want that nurturing side of me to come out, but it wasn't this week. This week was not for y'all to jump in on this. It wasn't your people with 2 Ivy League degrees under their belt being treated like a piece of shit on the national display. It was us. We were watching us go through that again. It was like sitting in that boardroom meeting again, watching somebody under me act like I was beneath them, dealing with that fucking microaggression over and over again. So I'm sorry. We just wanted this to be our time to vent. Just like when we lost Miss America 2 months ago, and we just wanted to vent about how the pain of that loss has hit us, and y'all couldn't even let us have that. And the thing is, we're not trying to say your pain doesn't have a place, but you just could have had your own thread. Black women would have came into y'all's thread talking about, oh, what about us? But you just don't want that, because you knew that right now the world was watching Black women. They wanted to know how we felt on it. That's why you've seen so many there were amazing interviews with so many people that I follow, like Condi. I love her. I love her tweets on John Ossoff. They just make me smile. She is just such a delight to follow and read. I love her fan fiction about her and Senator Ossoff. And it's just like we needed our time to explain how this has hurt, but this has given us hope, because when I was a little girl, we would have never expected to see anything like this. I talked about it on Twitter, and I meant it. When I was a little girl, I literally had an adult tell me, we're never going to have a female president. You see how they dogged Mondale for even suggesting and running with Ferraro. And then we seen it again when I could see Russia from my house ran. And I wasn't a fan of her, but the amount of misogyny she went through was gross. And it was unnecessary. I don't have to like Sarah Palin and not be gross about her gender. But that is what women were up against for the longest time. So excuse me if I'm enjoying the fact that I now have Madam Vice President, and I'm going to see a Supreme Court justice that not only reflects who I am as a Black girl nerd, but as a woman who has a supportive, loving, blended family, and that's just happy. and secure in my knowledge. And I think that people underestimate just the emotions that so many of us feel seeing her up there, keeping her composure. Because I noticed that there were some supposed sister girls. There's always the weird black endemics who knows that they ain't down, never been down, but trying to act like they down. Talk about, I wish she would have just grabbed her purse and got up out of there. Don't act like you're not home trained. I don't think so, because even the most ratchet girls, and I lived in some of the most ghetto parts of the South, knew you don't compromise your papers with your attitude. You might get comfortable once you're in the job long enough and you know enough managers and people you can key it with, but you don't compromise your papers when you're getting hired. Maybe you need to learn that lesson. Miss, I can write a bunch of papers for alumni, but don't know anything about being black truly. Some of you black women are still black adjacent and finding out how to be black your way. But we are always out of pocket to get our point across. And a lot of us were trained to carry ourselves because we have to be better. So for all of you to expect, oh, the Dems should have fought harder for her. That wasn't the moment for that. This is a historical moment. And like always, we bring our poise, we bring our grace, and we bring our knowledge. And that to me is more scary than any attitude or fire could ever bring. And shame on anybody expecting that out of black women. Because that trope, while sometimes fitting, because I know I could be as angry as the next person, is not who I am. It is not the sum of the whole. It is a part of me that if you see it, you have earned it. You see it, it is the last resort. Because I will try empathy. I will try understanding. I will try to compromise and work with you. But if I have to get to that point of anger, you have left me no other recourse. And hopefully, you don't have to be around me when I get to that point, because it is not a nice, rational 10 at all. And I think every black woman has struggled with that. That line of, I have given this every bit of calm and compassion and understanding I can give to this. Now you get the bitch. Well, I'm not saying I can't be petty and drag people. That's like as natural as breathing for me. But I don't do it all the time. When it comes to serious things, I bring that poise and composure that I learned over the years. It drives me nuts that people think that only certain women can be composed and keep, prim and proper, and that's bullshit. Black girls especially are told to carry ourselves a certain way. So it just drove me nuts that people assume this. And it makes me laugh because I tell people all the time, my family is black and Filipino. The shit they assume about Asian women will get you cut if you cross the wrong Filipino woman. Like I said, people used to assume that shit about my auntie, and she set them right all the time with their bullshit. Oh, you think I'm going to be meek? You think I'm going to serve you? I will serve you with a cut. Like, I don't understand why people have these tropes about Asian women, but a lot of men fuck around and find out. Like I said, we got to get away from these stereotypes, because I was taught to speak proper, to carry myself, because everything I do, my house will be weighed upon. And I don't understand how other people aren't raising their kids that way. I've always been taught that the way I carried myself reflected on me and mine, and I didn't want to negatively reflect on me and mine. So I really chafe at the whole idea that she would even have the leverage to act like that. She's not like the be a rapist guy who could cry and act out of pocket and be thought as endearing because he showed emotion. We have to be calm, cool, and collected because you expect us to act out of pocket. And that is never how black women carry themselves, especially when we're in professional mode. So, a lot of you are showing, even when you're black, that you really don't know black women. Some of you are showing that you're probably the only one of you in your group. Because the moment you tried to put her in that category of, oh, she should have been out of pocket from that, you act like you've never dealt with racist microaggressions before. You've never acted like you've had to take somebody's blatant insult of your qualifications and character and basically been like, That's on them. I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it professional. I'm going to do my job because I can't let them diminish who I am. That is their ignorance. And a lot of us realize that early on. So while, yes, it hurts, it does build up. I'm not even going to act like the shit, because I wouldn't be talking about it if all the stuff I went through when I was younger in the corporate world didn't get to me. I would still be working for the corporate world if it didn't get to me. But the reality of the situation is, I realized at some point that it wasn't me. I didn't have to worry if I was good enough. I knew I was good enough. They begged me after I left to come back to that company. But I realized that they didn't even want to pay me what I was worth. And if I got to beg you for my salary to be raised when I am doing my job and other jobs, no, I'm not going to put up with that. But some people thought that my skin tone meant I would just be grateful for whatever. And a lot of Black women go through that. And this week was just a constant reminder of that. And it was just exhausting. And I want you to know, it's not just for Black women, but especially for Black women, though. You're good enough. Other people don't have to see it. As long as when you look in that mirror, you realize that you are worthy. You have value. You are beautiful and smart and good enough. The world will see it one day. I know it don't feel that way all the time. We get devalued left, right, and center sometimes. We get it from all sides. And I know other groups feel their own twinges of bigotry and prejudice and aggression. But it just fits differently with Black women because it feels like everybody tries to disrespect us. Everybody tries to talk down to us and come out their face with us. And then when we shine, y'all act surprised sometimes. It's like, why are you surprised? What you have to say about us isn't going to stop us from learning. It's not going to stop us from nurturing and caring and being leaders. It just might take us a little bit longer, but we're still going to keep pushing because that is who we are. So if you're a Black woman watching this, no, I see you. And you have worth and value, and the most important cheerleader we have ourselves. So take care of your spirit. Because there are so many people out there that want to erode it away, that want to make us feel like we're not worthy, and we are. And this is to all my other sister girls. I know this week might have made some of you feel left out. I don't know what to say to you about that. All I know is that right now, Black women could have used y'all's support. I know it's not easy to put feelings to the side and say, we got you. But if you want solidarity with us, you got to start seeing things in that vein, because this was a hard week for us. This was hard because it was so many memories for some of us. It's for some of us, our current situation. One of the things Twitter likes to do right now is tweets based on your likes. And I've been seeing so many professional Black doctors, lawyers, and people dealing with racist microaggressions that it started to get at my soul. Doctors being questioned about their qualifications, whether or not they belonged in their building. Students being harassed, just trying to get their education. It builds up when just being and trying to excel in the field that you love is hammered by the societies acting like we don't belong. So thank you, Twitter, but I would much rather see the people I follow. I follow over at least 14,000 people now. I don't need to see tweets based on racist microaggressions. I know they exist. I have to deal with them still on a personal level at times. So no, I don't want to see them when I log online. I am trying to break into writing. I know that I'm going to have to deal with more, especially in the genres that I'm breaking into. It is not going to be an easy path, but it's a path I chose because I want to do it. And I think people need to understand that Twitter doesn't have to be this way. But I did notice that tweet that I'm not sure which one of you made the tweet. It might have been Respect, if she's in the chat, about how Twitter purposely hired a POC CEO and nothing's changed. If anything, it feels like things gotten worse. It feels like the people that are acting openly horrible are not being taken care of at all, if quick enough. And then they are like recommending stuff that none of us are into. I know that I talk politics and social issues at times, but I know I also talk baking. I know I talk geek stuff, a lot of geek stuff. They never recommend none of those for my likes at all. It is always serious, demoralizing, and demeaning things, and it's starting to get tiring, Twitter. Maybe give me an edit button instead, because I've been waiting over 10 years for that shit, and I'm over seeing black paint. I don't profit off of it, and I don't like people that do. I know it exists because I'm living that life. I don't need the constant reminders of our indignity. I need a country that stops treating us with indignity. And I need a social media platform that not just highlights black pain. Where's the black joy? I know that's on there too. I shouldn't have to go digging for it. But it's real easy for you to say based on my likes. I like a lot of stuff. I like pet pics. You would think that I would get more of those in my likes. And I hate to rant about Twitter, but it was just like on top of everything, we're watching those hearings, seeing those constant flood of stories about this, really just reinforced that this country got to start taking this seriously. This has been a 400-year wound. And those some people are like, America isn't that old. We've had issues with this since before America officially became America. That's why y'all need the 1619 Project. This has been an ongoing, untreated, festered wound. It's not just hitting us. The UK are feeling their particular brand of fuckery being thrown back in their face as Jamaica decided we don't want a monarchy no more. As Belize and other countries that have been under their control are saying, why do we need a queen? Why do we need a monarchy? And honestly speaking, all that reminds me of is colonialism that caused so many of the problems that we're still feeling today. And like I said, I don't really give a fuck about the royals. My two favorites are Americans now, so that's all I ever cared about. But the world has said the sins of the past cannot keep being ignored. You are going to give us those reparations. You are going to acknowledge the damage done. And it might not be quick, but it's got to happen because these wounds have never healed. They have scabbed. They've been ripped open by Jim Crow. They scabbed over again, and then you murdered MLK. They scab just a little bit more, and you rip them open with different Crown Heights and other microaggressions. Anytime we have a prosperous area, we get it snatched from us either violently or through political and financial shenanigans. You can't keep treading on us and expecting no pushback. It's got to stop. And this country has allowed itself to be bullying to black people far too long. And like every other bully, enough of us have had it. We're done with this nonsense. I need people to understand that this stuff has gone on far too long. We have allowed things like eugenics and just awful racist and bigoted things to seep into American culture so much that it feels like you're being attacked when we call the things you believed in bigotry. That's not a good thing. We have to undo so much social conditioning, but it takes recognizing the problem. And we can't depend on the conservative party because they'll trot out any little black girl that will take a paycheck to say CRT is bad. When CRT is still an elective in law school for people to learn how systemic racism is utilized within the legal system, it is not taught to your kids in elementary school, Gladys. But that is the reality. That is what we are up against, this ignorance that wants to hold on to their traditional bigotry. And we have to undo this conditioning because, like I said, we are going through it here in Michigan with this trial of yahoos. But they are not a one and done. There are plenty of pocket cells in different states thinking they are wannabe militias, wanting Civil War 2.0 because they didn't study history either, and they don't realize that they will not come out the victors. They are that dumb. And we have to undo this indoctrination because it hurts us all when they go unchecked. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, y'all. I will be back with more of this on Tuesday. I don't know if it's going to be heavily this topic, but it is a topic that we need to keep bringing up. Because so many people want to talk about the small towns, and they just mean white. And white people, you've got to be fed up with this. You got to be fed up with being invitized. You got to be fed up with the bigotry. You got to be fed up with progress being stymied by this nonsense. It's not lucrative or powerful for you to be suffering too. And you shouldn't need other people to suffer to feel more powerful. But if we got to work on that, you just got to work on yourself, and we all got to do our part to keep politically and socially invested. It's beyond time. Yeah, exactly, Beans. It is ridiculous. And the education system needs an overhaul. And the only way we're going to get that is to get more people in charge that actually care about the system being reformed, restructured, and an actual education system. And to get that, we have to do our part. It really is that simple. I know it's easy to be angry. These last 4 years made me almost numb with rage at times. But the thing I decided to do instead of just shutting down is voting, keeping aware, keeping active, reminding people that it only takes one act to get the ball rolling towards progress. And if you're sitting at home and investing nothing, don't expect to get anything back. You really do get what you give. And I know that one viral tweet before I wrap it up, because that guy irked me too. My daughter worked hard for a year, and the Dems didn't give her everything she wanted within the year. So that's basically what he was saying. And white people, if this is your attitude, you need to stop, because y'all's numbers were not good enough for you to be putting out tweets about what the Dems are doing. Because you're literally at 50 and 60%. We're still ready to put our hands back in that incompetent assholes, grubby little mitts. So excuse me if I don't need to see tweets about how you worked hard for the Dems for a year and it's not going fast enough, so you're disappointed. Just say you're GOP now. Don't waste our time. If you are with us seeing these historic confirmations, seeing the progress that you still think we need to get to, vote. Because it is the only way we're going to have anything good. Anything else is a waste of our time. And if you're not willing to invest even that small part of yourself, what do you expect to get back in return? You won't get nothing if you invest nothing. That is point blank. That is basic economics. That is basic life. So if you want better for your communities, if you want better for this nation as a whole, politically invest yourself. But I'm going to wrap it up for real. For real, Beans. I'm telling you. The elders weren't lying. We have to do our part. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Get relaxing. I will be back on Tuesday. Hopefully, like I said, that power outage just wiped me out. We are looking into investing into a backup generator too, just in case. And it was just a messy week and I needed a break, but I will definitely be back on Tuesday. I just love doing these Bonnet Chronicles and I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I will definitely be on Sundays too, but like I said, that's just me gaming with the guys for views. That is not like this interactive stuff. And half the time I am so focused on killing things in the game that I barely pay attention to the chat, so I'm off with it. Trying to get better, but I'm not really that big of a streamer. But I really do love and appreciate you guys, and I definitely will, because we can't afford it anymore. It gets too cold here to have to depend on the power company when stuff goes out all night, and after 2 nights in a row of that, we're just not going to deal with that anymore. But I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you all on Tuesday if you join me, and next week if not, and love you guys. You just have a good night.